Okay, what we're going to do in this particular section is we're going to take a look at grouping our activities by dates. And the goal of this is to have an array of dates, just as strings. So for example, 10th of Jan 2021, 30th of Jan 2021. These are all going to be keys, and each key is going to have a value. So we're going to have an object, basically, or an array of objects. And each object is going to have a key which represents the date, and the value is going to be the list of activities that take place on that date. So that's the idea. And what we're going to do to achieve this is we're going to take advantage of the reduce function that we have available on an array in JavaScript. And the reduce method executes a reducer function that we provide on each element of an array, resulting in a single output value. So effectively, we're using this reduce function because our activities, or our activities array, we're going to want to reduce this array into a single date string. And then we're effectively, for each one of those dates, that's going to be our key. And in this object, we can have a value that represents a list of activities that take place on that particular date. That's our goal, and that's what we're going to use this reduce function for. So we'll head back to VS Code, and we need to be inside our activity store. Now we already have the data that we need to work with here because we've got the dates that each activity is taking place already inside our activity registry, and we've also got a list of sorted dates by using this particular function, the getActivitiesByDate function. So we're going to take our list of sorted activities and we're going to reduce this array into an object. And this object is going to have a key of each date, and each date is going to have an array of the activities taking place on that date. So let's take a look at how we're going to do this. So we're going to create another computed function, and it's going to be called getGroukedActivities. And we're going to return from this, and we're going to say object.entries, and inside here we're going to say list.activitiesByDate, and then we're going to use the reduce function on this array. Now this reduce function takes two parameters, and the first parameter is going to be our activities array. The second parameter is going to be the individual activity. And then inside this callback function, what we're going to do is get the date of the activity. So we're going to say const date equals activity.date. And this date is a string, and we've already split this date based on what we're doing in the set activity. So this activity date is going to be just what we saw inside our browser. It's going to be 2021-01-10, for example. So this string is going to represent our key for each of the objects. And then what we're going to do is say activities and then specify date equals activities. And again, we're going to use the date, and inside square brackets, this is the object property accessor. So we're going to get the property inside activities that matches that particular date. That's what we're interested in. And bear in mind that we're executing this callback function on each element inside this array. So what we're checking for here is to see if we have a match for this activity on list date, and if it is a match, then what we're going to do is spread the activities and specify in square brackets the object property accessor again with the date there. And then we're going to add the activity that we're executing this callback function on. And if not, then we're going to create a new array with that activity. And then we're going to return the activities. Now we're getting typing errors here, and it tells us that each element implicitly has an any type because expression of type string cannot be used to index type activity. So we need to give this some parameters anyway, and we need to give this a starting object. So our reduce function has an initial value. Now this is going to be an object effectively, so we need to use the curly brackets, and then we can specify as, and then open up curly brackets once again. And then we need to specify the type of our key for our object. Now the key is going to be a string, and the value is going to be an activity array. And this makes the warnings go away there. So what we've done here is now, what we have now is an array of objects, and each object has a key, which is going to be the activity date. And for each date, we're going to have an array of activities inside there. What we can do then is go across to our activity list. And instead of getting the activities by date, we're going to get our grouped activities. And what we want to do here is return, and we're going to do this inside a fragment because we're going to have elements that are effectively side by side here. And we're going to specify grouped activities, and then we're going to say map, and inside here we'll add additional parentheses and then square brackets because we want both the group or the group name, but we'll just call it group, and the array of activities. And inside here we'll add our callback, and then what we need is a header. But we're going to need to put this inside a fragment, and because we're looping over this, we'll actually need to use the actual fragment from React so that we can give it a key. We can't add a key to the shorthand version of this fragment here, so we'll specify fragments and open this up, and we'll give this a key equal to, and we're just going to use group because each group name is going to be an individual or unique date. And then we'll add a header that we get from Semantic UI, and we'll just make it sub and give it a color equal to teal. And inside the header we're just going to specify group, and this is going to be the string of text that matches the date. And then we're going to take our segment, we'll just cut this and paste it below our header. Let's just reformat this, and then we're going to loop over our activities. And what we should be doing now is grouping our activities by date. So if we go take a look and refresh the page here, then we can see that each activity date has an array of activities, although it's difficult to see this working because all of our activities are taking place on different dates. But if I take an example, and let's take this third one here, and I'm going to set this date to the 31st of January 2021. I'm just going to view this activity, click on edit, and I'm going to change the date to go back to January and say the 30th of January and click submit. And then if we go back to the activities list, then we can see that these are now grouped together underneath this single date. And that's the effect we're looking at here. I know it still doesn't look great because we've still got some work to do on the styling, but we're going to come on to that in the next lesson.